And in the study of ethics, it's generally understood that crossing the barrier into misconduct for the first time makes future instances of misconduct more likely. So then you have a serial offender, to put it one way. So what does this mean for accreditation of forensic science laboratories? Well, look, accreditation is really good for the prevention of malpractice or minimizing the chance of malpractice. It is not as effective in preventing misconduct or preventing cultural declines in a laboratory that could one day enable misconduct or make misconduct more likely. I've had my own concerns about accreditation in that it has no real substantive ability to regulate culture. You could have laboratories staffed with really good people, very competent people, and you can have scientifically valid methods that a laboratory uses in casework. But if you get, let's say, a new unit supervisor or a new director or a new system director who is toxic or incompetent, you might see a degradation of the laboratory's culture that is quite dangerous, but cannot necessarily be detected or remediated by accreditation alone or the watchful eyes of accreditation authorities. Worse than that, of course, if you have someone in the laboratory who suffers from a substance addiction, or has major mental or behavioral challenges, as we've talked about here, the laboratory and its customers could potentially be exposed to threats that might go undetected for long periods of time. For you forensic laboratory professionals out there, I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to present some solutions, and I'd like to start there. I'd like to first encourage you to think about three important things as ways to minimize or hopefully eliminate the problems that we're discussing here. First, have a really good and robust set of drug screening policies and procedures. And they cannot, in my opinion, be simply random in their application. Second, if you don't have a specific policy and procedure that encourages whistleblowing and protects people who come forward to blow the whistle on what they believe might be something serious that's going on in the laboratory, then you'd be wise to develop one and make sure that it's carefully reviewed by your HR managers and any other authorities that are representing you and your organization. Finally, and this can really apply to any organization or any occupation out there, always be on the lookout for people with high levels of responsibility or authority who also seem to take no sincere interest in other people. And even when they try to, it seems kind of awkward or manufactured in some way. Narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths do not care about others, except for utilitarian reasons. They use people. They will not ask you about things that are going on in they will not ask about things going on in your life or other people's lives. And they don't take an interest in what other people think or feel. And they have no functional sensitivity to the life experiences of other people or what they're feeling. When you interview them for jobs, you have a better chance of screening them out by paying close attention to their socialization abilities, their ability to engage well in casual conversations, and creating moments that give them the opportunity to ask nuanced questions or to demonstrate their ability to sense what other people might think or feel in certain situations. In other words, create conversational moments that test the candidate's ability to empathize, okay, and sense the interpersonal nuances that come with basic socialization. If you are one of these laboratories, by the way, that has its hands tied by its own HR department or its own civil service reps who tie your hands with rigid, scripted interview questions, then you are exposed to great risk, and you should push against those restrictions to the extent that you can do so legally and professionally. Never, never, never tolerate being hamstrung by inflexible HR or civil service requirements that prevent you from finding, evaluating, and selecting the unique kinds of people who are well suited for the unique challenges of forensic science. If you focus on those three things, starting right now, and if you also happen to be accredited or are going to be accredited or in the process of earning your accreditation, then the likelihood of catastrophic misconduct will be minimized to a significant degree. It can't be eliminated 100%, but it can be minimized to a significant degree. Reach out to me if you feel like you need some help, but in the meantime, take a look at the policies and procedures that you have in place and make sure that you've protected your laboratory, your employees, and your lab's customers from the threats that we've talked about today. It's very much worth the effort. And I would ask you to also please keep an eye open for our next episode, where I'm going to do a follow-up to the one you just heard or watched. I'm going to make a very specific, I guess what we would call high-level policy recommendation to criminal jurisdictions everywhere in the United States that, if adopted, in my opinion, would eliminate the unusual stresses and pressures that come to bear on the shoulders of forensic laboratory scientists from having high levels of service demand that exceed laboratory capacity, and which in turn create temptations for vulnerable forensic laboratory employees. And if you aren't subscribed to receive our program notes after each episode, go to criticalvictories.com. That's criticalvictories.com, and you can click the subscribe link. Thanks for joining me, everyone, and we will see you next time. Take care.